popping over
Okay,
there in a minute.
Catherine. It's okay, Catherine. I'm going to mute you because we are live. Welcome to another wonderful Wisdom Circle. I am so excited. Our beautiful Samantha Wittenberg is back to lead Miss to Feed and Nourish the Wild Woman. Of course, I'm Sophia from Sacred You. We have the absolute honor of presenting these Wisdom Circles. And Samantha, I just want to say before I hand it over to you, thank you. I'd like to honor you because these are some of the wisdom circles that I so much enjoy listening to. So, handing it over to you, Samantha. I'll be back at the end. And let us know a little bit about why you're bringing Myths to Feed and Nourish a Wild Woman before we introduce these incredible women from all over the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophia. Yes, I'm Samantha Wittenberg, originally from South Africa, but I live in Australia now, and I call myself a storyteller, and I'm a coach for caregivers of parents, caregivers and parents of neurodivergent children. And I just have always loved stories, and really delved into the women who run with the wolves in particular. Today is not going to be a story from women who run with the wolves, but most of my stories have been, and I feel that these stories give us a really useful and reassuring, comforting way to a map to understand our own journeys. And they do it in images and pictures, which is very different to the heady, the left brain way of understanding the world and analyzing, diagnosing. And it really appeals to my creative side and my imagination, and feeds me, nourishes me. So I hope it will do the same for you. And we'll go around with a brief introduction to each of you, from each of you. Today's story is about peeling back the layers and becoming vulnerable. There's so many themes in today's story, but that is one of the themes. It is also about opening the heart and becoming vulnerable, peeling back the layers. So if you'd like to, in your introduction, you can share maybe about a little bit about your journey of how being vulnerable has been. What how has that experience been? Or just a few words about you and your work, and maybe where you are, where you're based. So we'll just go alphabetically, so you know who's going to be next. And oh, Abby's here. Hello, hi, Abby. So Abby, you're going to be first. Are you ready though? Okay.
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Hello, welcome, and thank you for going first.
Thanks. I'm excited to be here. My name is Abby Teixeira, and I'm speaking from Treaty 6 territory on Turtle Island, also known as Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. So I am a trauma recovery guide, a feminine leadership mentor, speaker, and an author and a mama of four. I'm also a survivor of complex PTSD, and I'm in recovery from addiction for over a decade. It'll be 12 years this October. And my work really lives at the intersection of healing, feminine leadership, ancestral remembering, and cycle breaking. And I hold spaces for women, especially Black, Indigenous women of color, who are mothers, healers, and creatives, to reconnect with their voice, their truth, and their inner wisdom. And I absolutely love this topic, and I love when you host this, Samantha. It's always such a juicy conversation. I feel it aligns so beautifully with the evolution of my own work. The wild woman to me isn't somebody that is more louder or more rebellious just for the sake of it. She really is the part of me that remembers. So she remembers who she was before all the conditioning of the fear, the shame, the perfectionism, and survival taught me to forget, basically, right? And so, yeah, I'm really excited to dive into this topic. I know it's always a really good one. So thank you.
Thank you. Anique.
It's the AAA, is it? AAA. So nice to see you all, ladies. Yeah, it's my first time in this space, not on the sacred use panels, but in this particular topic and panel. So my name is Anique Patry. I am French Canadian in Australia. I am an holistic mentor. I'm the creator of the Voice Alchemist Academy. I am a TEDx speaker, international best-selling author, retreat facilitator, sound healer, and I'm very passionate and committed and devoted to help heart-centered entrepreneurs, conscious leaders, spiritual leaders to embody their highest joy, to own their creative power, and to unleash their true voice so that they can be paid to do what they love, what they're here to do, and their sole purpose on earth. And yeah, that's a very noble and humble and amazing journey to be on. And I'm excited to see what's going to unfold because every time I'm on this podcast panel, there's always a lot of richness. So I'm here to contribute my voice and to learn and receive from all of you. So thank you.
Thanks, Anique. Beautiful. Thank you. Who's next? Catherine.
C.
Yes.
So I am Catherine Crestani. I'm an inner authority guide and a writer and speaker on human potential and conscious leadership, which is a way of saying that I lead people back to themselves so that they can have more joy, excitement, and connection in their world, including relationships, their career, and life. And in terms of this topic, it's such a powerful reflection of my life because I've had to, I say blow up lots of aspects of me and leave those bits of behind while I shed the layers and become really vulnerable. Because when you step into something new, it's really, you don't know what's going to happen. So you have to have this element of courage and be very vulnerable and open whilst you shed those layers and allow the grief that comes up with that and allow the sadness of letting the old you go. And so I love that you're hosting this theme because it's very pertinent, especially with Mercury retrograde in Cancer, which is all about shedding emotions and shedding relationships and shedding all those things that don't fit in your life anymore. So I love the timing of this too.
Wonderful. Thank you for giving us that extra layer. Jo.
Good morning, good
Joanne.
evening. Joe is fine. Hello, everybody. Beautiful women. Nice to be here in your presence. I'm an emotion and energetic empowerment coach. I work with women, specifically helping business and soul entrepreneurs who struggle with getting themselves out there and being seen and moving through the parts of themselves that stop them or block them from playing the bigger game in life. So that they can be the version of themselves and earn the income that they deserve and desire. So I'm trained in many modalities, but my journey's also been around being vulnerable and really opening to parts of myself that I never wanted to see or feel. And I think when we do that, we're modeling that for others that it's okay as long as you feel safe and held in that journey. And it's just, yeah, it is beautiful, but it's also so profound in discovering more of who you truly are. And just through a whole lot of modalities, but also being brave to actually even want to go there is has been my biggest I guess learning that it's okay and that and that I'm okay and that there's nothing wrong with me. I used to think there was something wrong with me. But yeah, I think it's the bravest work we can do is to open our hearts and be vulnerable. So thank you. I'm looking forward to this conversation today.
Beautiful. Thanks, Joanne. Oh, okay. Lisa, it's your first time at this circle as well.
No, it's actually my second time. I was in the
Okay.
circle a few months ago, so
Oh, I'm sorry.
and I loved it, so I wanted to come back when I had the chance. So
Yay.
thanks for having me again. Actually, I think it was my first wisdom circle was one of yours. Yeah, so it was a really great one. So I'm Lisa. I'm in Nova Scotia, Canada, which is also the unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. I am a published author, and I'm a certified death doula, a Reiki master and teacher, and a human design analyst. So I combine those modalities to help hold space for women who are trying to come back to themselves. And I love this because I think somebody mentioned the conditioning that we have in our whole life where we should do this, we should act this way. Women, that's not ladylike, all these different things that we're told as we grow up and how society expects us to be. And we lose so much of ourselves and pick up these shells as we go along. And it's so important to honor ourselves, to pull those shells back and those layers back and become who we're truly meant to be. And that is a very vulnerable position. And for me, that layering, that removing those layers has been happening for years. So it's quite a journey. So it's a topic I'm very passionate about, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what unfolds this evening. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Sarah, next time remind me to let you go first. I know what it's like being in the end of the alphabet. Okay,
Oh,
let's hear from you, Sarah.
all good. Hello, everyone. Sarah Roccasano here. I am an author, motivational speaker, and the founder of Embolden Adventures, an encouragement platform that inspires personal, professional, and spiritual development and transformation. And as you're all speaking about vulnerability tonight, it made me take a pause about, well, what is vulnerability? And I think about the time I was in New York City for 20 plus years. It's a city that is aggressive. It's a city that's full of energy. It's a city full of strangers, 8 million people, strange faces, every corner you turn. So being vulnerable in the city of New York is not an option. You always have to be on guard. You always have to have eyes behind the back of your head, watch out for cars, watch out for trucks, watch out for everything. And so I think vulnerability actually is a superpower. It's the opposite. It's strength. When you are ready to be vulnerable, you're trusting that there's something protecting you, something that you can fall to, a higher guidance, your own sort of empowered self. I listen to Bashar every so often and on the internet, and he talks about how power, those that seek power are actually powerless. Those that want to control the situation actually realize they're disempowered and need to kind of step in and circumvent and try to control a situation. So vulnerability is the same sort of idea where if we're putting ourselves out there and we're going to be expecting bad things around the corner, we're not going to be vulnerable. We're going to put up our guard and we're going to, go in life, trying to hide and avoid. But vulnerability really is putting yourself out there, out. You're open and you're guided and you know that there's something that's going to help you get through whatever it is you're pushing yourself through. And in my case, vulnerability specifically, my book is coming out, long-awaited book. Finally, it's this close to being published. I know we're looking for the proof this week, so we're really excited about that. But in hindsight, it's an autobiography, and I put my vulnerabilities in that book. And I'm not sugarcoating what I went through. They were down moments, and the reader could easily say, wow, she's really arrogant, or wow, she's really going, from a different direction here, and I'm not sure I really like her right now. But that vulnerability is what makes the book alive and what makes people want to turn the next page. So there's real power in vulnerability.
Yes, it brings up emotion, doesn't it? Brings up whether strong emotions will either direction. Yeah, that's powerful. And emotion is what moves us. That's what's in the word. And I feel vulnerable because I'm quite a new storyteller. I want to acknowledge that this story is told by Martin Shaw. It's been told over the years by many different people, but Martin Shaw has been my inspiration for a lot of this storytelling journey. And it's called the Lindworm. It's a Norse myth. And the Lindworm there is a mythical creature that is part snake and part dragon. Although the storytellers I have listened to just call it a snake. But imagine something a lot more scary than a snake, if you can. I love snakes, but some people are terrified by them. So yeah, get yourself relax, and if you want to, you can even switch your camera off. You can just get really comfortable and imagine yourself sitting outside at night at a fire with just the stars above you and the sound of the crackling fire and a warm cup of something in your hand. And just let yourself settle back against the cushions and take a moment to remember that time when you loved to listen to stories, or you got to listen to stories as a child, and could just really relax and receive this gift and receive the images. So as you listen, we're going to be in the creative, imaginative side of ourselves rather than analyzing. But why this doesn't make sense. Just allow yourself to receive the images and notice what touches you, what moves you. So once, very long ago, there was a king and queen, and they were the best type of king and queen. They were very kind and generous. But at night, when they went back to their chamber, really high up in the castle, there was grief and heaviness because they had not been able to conceive, or the queen had not been able to conceive a child. And this brought a lot of sadness. So, and the queen loved to go walking in the castle grounds. She loved nature, she loved the trees. And one day when she was walking, out of one of the really ancient oak trees stepped an old woman, maybe a witch, a crone. And she said, "Queen, I've noticed you many times walking here and you seem so sad. What is it that ails you?" And the queen told her, and she said, "Well, I have a solution for that. I know what you need to do. You need to speak your desire out loud into a cup." They had these beautiful golden goblets, and you need to pour that cup onto the earth. And in the morning, there will be two flowers, a red one and a white one. whatever you do, do not eat the red flower. Only eat the white flower. You got it? Yes, yes, that's pretty simple, she said, and off she went, and she did as she was instructed, spoke her desire, her strong desire for a child, and poured the cup onto the earth. And the next morning, she eagerly ran out of the castle and found the two flowers. And before she could even stop herself, she grabbed the red one and gobbled it up. Who has done that before? I think we've all gone and done that many times. And so almost as soon as she'd done that, oh, she did eat the white one afterwards as well, just to make sure. And almost as soon as she'd done that, she could feel the quickening. She felt the life starting to grow in her. And 9 months later, the midwife was up in the castle. It was a stormy, wild night. And the queen was ready to give birth. And as she pushed, out came a little black snake. The midwife, pretty shocked, grabbed the snake and threw it out the window, thinking, yeah, of course I don't want to upset the king and queen. We need to get rid of this. And very soon after that came the most beautiful, perfect little baby boy. Blonde hair, blue eyes. And he grew up to be everything a prince needs to be. He was kind, he was brave, he was generous. He was just a really good person. And the day came when he was ready to look for a bride. So he set out on his horse. And he came to a crossroad. And at that crossroad, there upreared, what did he see? A huge black lindworm, the snake that had grown and become enormous and terrifying. And his horse reared up, and the snake said to him, "Where are you going?" He said, "I'm out to look for a bride." No, he was very brave. He didn't shake. His voice didn't shake. He said, "I am out looking for my bride." And the snake said, "Older brothers marry first." Oh, okay. And off he backed, back, and he sought another route. But every time he came to a crossroads, the snake would be there. Older brothers marry first. All right, well, he had to give up for that day, went back to the castle, sat down with his parents. "Okay, what have you not told me?" And he told them what had happened out on the road. "Is there something about my birth you haven't told me?" "Well, no, we can't think of anything. But you know what? Let's go visit the midwife." By now, the midwife was pretty elderly, but they found her. She was still living in the forest, and they asked her the question, and she said, "You know, there was something. Before you were born, Prince, there was a black snake born." Aha! Okay, so what would you expect now? usually the king and queen or the family would be wanting to destroy him, right? But no, they sent out all the minstrels and musicians to go and woo the Prince Lindworm, the snake, and bring him back to the castle and invite him, welcome him into the castle. And they did that, and he came, and he was welcomed as the firstborn, and arrangements started to be made for him to marry. And in those days, you didn't see your bride to be or your husband to be before the actual wedding night, which was convenient. So the first woman came. Of course, she was horrified when she saw who she was about to marry. But by that time, he had already wrapped his tail around her very tightly and was dragging her into the bridal chamber. And in the morning, predictably, when they brought their croissants and cappuccino, well, there was only one being in that room and a whole pile of bones. And one by one, they brought the prospective brides, and one by one, they were consumed by the Prince Lindworm. But there was the daughter of a shepherd on the far outskirts of the kingdom. And she heard about this. Everybody by now knew that this was the castle that you went into and you never came out of. But she was a brave young woman, and she went to seek advice from, well, she was someone who was very close to the trees and the creatures in nature, and she was able to tune into them, to commune with them. And she went into the forest to get some guidance, and an old woman came out, asked her what was going on, and she said that she wanted to go and marry Prince Lindworm. And the advice was, ask for a year and a day. Tell them you will come to the castle in a year and a day. And during that time, you are to sew 12 wedding shirts. And I want you to pay particular attention to the embroidery on the heart area. So these were very intricate shirts. Even one would take a woman, well, maybe a month to make full time sewing. And in the stories, sewing can be seen as an analogy of weaving the invisible and the visible together as the needle goes in through the darkness and comes out into the light. So she sat for many months. Oh, and there were more instructions. When you go to the castle, you need to ask them for a bucket of lye and 2 big scrubbing brushes and a bucket of milk. So it took her the whole year to embroider these shirts. And when she was ready, she went to the castle. She followed the instructions, and there was a wedding ceremony. And once again, Prince Lindworm, as soon as the ceremony was done, but the marriage wasn't consummated. Sorry, I forgot to explain. The marriage had to be consummated before it was actually a marriage. So he was still unmarried. So consuming is not the same as consummating. It's a very similar word though. They had the ceremony and he wraps his tail around this young woman and she's like, okay, let's go. Yes. And into the chamber they go. And there he says, Princess, take off your shirt. And she says, not until you have taken off the first layer of your scales. She said, I will take my shirt off. Oh, nobody's ever asked me that before. Okay, then. And he painfully goes about taking off his first layer of scales. All right, and then she takes off her shirt. But underneath, as we know, there's 11 more shirts. And so this goes on where he says, take off your shirt, and he has to take off another layer of his scales, which is a very painful process for him. But the worst is still to come, because when he finally has taken off the 12 layers, and she has taken off her 12 shirts, he is nothing more than a blubbery, jelly-like pink mass of stuff. Maybe like the same sort of stuff that happens when a caterpillar turns into a butterfly and they turn into mush in the cocoon. Maybe it was a bit like that. And she took the scrubbing brushes, and now this is a horrible part, so you can block your ears if it sounds too violent, but she scrubs with these wire brushes and the lye. And if you thought that it was painful to take the scales off, well, the screams and howls from Prince Lindworm were extreme. But finally, she takes that blubbery mess and she bathes it in the bucket of warm milk, or the basin of warm milk. And from there emerges a man who's been under a spell for 17 years. And he has the ordinary beauty of a man and a prince. And in the morning, when the king and queen, when the servants come to bring them breakfast, they're just expecting to see a pile of bones again. But there they see the two wrapped up in radiant contentment. And they say that in every one of us, there is a smart woman who knows exactly what to do, and a man that has gone through the pain of peeling off all the layers of scales. So now the story has fed us, and we are going to feed the story through sharing how and where the story has touched our hearts, if it has. and how the story has spoken to you, or any image that was particularly powerful for you. So who'd like to go first?
I'd just like to
Still.
say that it's such a big story, right? Such a big myth. It's so many elements, so many dimensions, so many directions, but it caught me in the beginning, the very first part, when the queen couldn't conceive, and she met the woman that came in out of the tree, the crone, and what came to me then was this image of asking to receive, but also following that divine breadcrumb, like there's always a way. Having faith, there was this piece around belief and trust and faith and following, other people's, I guess, advice, or other people's learning to open up to receiving information and following through, because I think that's a piece that we often disregard, we dismiss, or we don't see those divine breadcrumbs that are right in front of us, and trusting that process. So that was the first piece as an opening, but I'm going to just digest a lot of the rest.
Yes, and it
big
wasn't just anyone. It was a woman, an elderly woman, an elder crone. Yeah,
a wise woman, but
a
also
wise woman.
it also could be a reflection of trusting ourself, our own wise self, and going deeper with the questions to find the solution. So there's a whole lot around that.
Yes. And did she follow the instructions?
She did,
No.
but she ate, so she ate, she ate both. Yeah, and how often do we rush into things? Like, how often do we not even sit and digest what's just manifested in front of us, and we have choice and we choose it all, instead of like taking our time to really feel into what is the right thing for us. So so many things.
Yes, I don't want to rush the digestion process. The fire is crackling, and just take your time. Thanks, Joanne. Yes, Sarah.
The only thing that's hitting me is the snake. I keep focusing on the black scales of the snake. And I think the happy ending is for the snake, to be honest. I think the snake was trusting and it was willing to be vulnerable. And it went through the pain of shedding and it had a pleasant surprise. So it goes to what I was saying earlier about how vulnerability is a power, and how when you trust and you surrender, there's a higher power that's guiding you toward, your authentic self and a discovery of what's within. So I can't help but focus on the snake as the main piece of this story. Everyone else is secondary in my opinion.
Yeah.
For me, it's the snake too, but from the beginning, when the midwife took the snake and threw the snake out the window. So that 17 years, that snake had no nurturing. And then along comes this woman who nurtured her heart center for a year and followed the instructions of helping and holding space for the snake to shed and making it a safe place by putting the blob into the milk and then creating the human beneath it. So I think that was really beautiful.
And right at the beginning, Joanne said, I just made a note of it when Joanne said about feeling safe and held during the process of becoming vulnerable. So that's what the milk represents to me as well. As you say, Lisa. Yeah.
Without having that space held for him and the ability to feel safe, he would have just continued to consume and not stop and give anything back or create a beautiful life. Like it just would have been a life of anger, like you would expect from somebody who was not nurtured for 17 years. So yeah.
Yes, yes. And what I find interesting is what actually lured him or convinced him to start that process was thinking he was going to get what he wanted, through the woman. Um and that was the way that he was enticed. So it was like there's an exchange happening there.
I also
Almost
thought
a
as you
trick.
were telling the
Almost a trick.
story, yeah, and as you were telling the story, I was thinking, how would she know how to do that? But that comes in that women's intuition and knowing how to peel back the layers and hold that space for him. And probably she figured it out through the contemplation where she was in that heart space for 12 months before she entered the journey. So it's a very complex story with many layers, like many of us have.
Yes, yes. That's right. Many layers to the story, and then the story is about the layers coming off. Yeah, it is. It's deep. And yeah, we can only touch the surface really in this time, and hearing it over and over, different things will come up for people. Anything
For me,
else, Abby?
yeah, I can share. Yeah, I'm trying to digest it as well. And as I'm hearing the different shares, things are coming through. I think something that Joe had mentioned about patience. I haven't quite woven this together, this thought, but like I think about how the queen didn't follow the instructions. She wasn't patient. She just, went and got super excited and, had the red and the white flower at the same time, which she wasn't supposed to do. And as a result of that, gave birth to these two beings, and one of them was actually discarded, which could have been, part of the family growing up, like a double blessing, to have twins, when she was, seeking and searching for one, and then being away for those 17 years. But then the woman that eventually, kind of breaks the spell, if you will, she practiced. It's kind of like a full circle moment where she had to practice patience and discernment and following instructions to a T, to be able, almost like trusting the process. And then she was able to, not only break the spell, but then end up with a prince, with happily ever after, if you will. But those are kind of the themes that for me is interesting. How it goes, yeah, it just came from her almost like, excitement and oversight to then, kind of full circle coming to this scenario where she had so there was someone else that had an opportunity to break the spell, and then she ended up with, two princes, right? And so, yeah, something along those lines that are weaving together for me, but it is a very layered story, and there's definitely lots of angles to come at it with. So, thanks.
Good. Food for thought. I'd like, unless anyone's got anything urgent, I wanted to quickly play a clip from Robert Bly's telling of the story. It's just a couple of minutes. Hopefully I can share. Can I share, Sophia? And let me know if do a thumbs up for if you can hear the sound. Oh, why has it gone like that? No. Get rid of that thing. You see it wanting me to.
I'm going to do a discussion of the story now, and
Can you hear?
I just mentioned that there's an old tradition that when you were born, there was a twin born with you, a spiritual twin, who knew all of your origins in the other world and knows also why you came to this world and what your task is, in what sense you are a royal son. Then before you're born, all of that memory is removed so that you can face life like the rest of us, just muddling along. And that is why the initiation is called remembering. Because in one sense, the purpose of the initiation is to put you back in touch with that one who was born with you at birth and then disappeared.
Sorry, he said initiation is the process of putting you back in touch with that one that was born with you and then disappeared. That in itself, that little clip is deep, and would, yeah, hopefully adds to the wisdom of the story. Catherine, did you want to share something?
Yeah, for me, that girl, you know, she saw the patterns that were happening, and instead of just saying, yes, I'm going to the castle to accept my fate, decided to be a cycle breaker and actually step away from that and go into nature and go back inside with herself. And then, yes, all the wisdom and the layers and everything that came from that, and choosing to take things in a different approach. And, you know, all the ladies have shared, you know, there's so many elements, but for me, that's what stood out, because so often we get stuck in the same cycle, or we get stuck in the same loop, and we forget that there's a different way. Like, we forget there's another way we can do things. And, you know, yes, people might go, oh, well, she was buying time. Well, yeah, she needed that space to come back to herself and create this protection around her, to know she was strong enough to go face the snake. And then, like Sarah said, then you get the beautiful vulnerability of the snake, and Lisa touched upon too, who was just neglected. You know, so I guess too, it's that, you know, there's that hidden beauty within everybody if you choose to allow it to come to the surface, rather than putting all those protective layers around yourself on the other flip side of the thing with the snake.
Beautiful, thank you.
I love that piece you just added there around born with as a twin. Like, they're so profound. We come onto with, you know, we're souls that choose to come onto the earth and born in unto the parents that we're born into. And then I don't know, but there's a lot more deeper experiences that they come with, dark and light. We come with dark and light. And sometimes that gets entangled, or this is my feeling, we get entangled on what is good and what is not, and the choices that we have. But that an entanglement grows through our experiences that we experience as a human being. And the journey of that becoming in 17 years is about untangling that to become who we're meant to be. That just felt very, very profound for me when I heard it in that concept. But yeah, lots to explore. I think we'll be pondering on this one for a little bit. But yeah, I love all your shares. It's really.
You can also see it as the shadow, you know, some parts
Aspect.
remove it as the shadow.
Yeah.
And the king and queen welcome the shadow into the castle, and that was an important part of the overall healing, wasn't it? Like they brought it in instead of pushing it out like the midwife had thrown it out, understandably. Yeah.
Because that would be in her own experience, her own, I guess, interpretation of the royalty that was being born only wanted the light, not the dark.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. We could talk about this for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's really shown in the contrast between how you described the perfect baby versus the small black wiggly snake that was thrown out the window. So it sounds like the perfect light being was well nourished and the shadow was cast aside. And as we know, as humans that are doing this work, this healing work, the shadow is so important and it's just interwoven in our souls and who we are as authentic people. And you can't just focus on one and not the other, or you're not going to survive. You're not can never go back to yourself that way.
Yeah, that's right. And what do you make of that extreme pain? Like that this I find it quite a shocking part of the story. And I think I heard this story many years ago, and I think I just didn't like the story because of that, and now coming back to it being older and wiser, I don't find it as shocking. But it does strike me that just the violence in that part, the scrubbing with the wire brushes, and yeah.
I love that part because
Mm.
healing is not easy. And embracing the shadow aspect of yourself is not easy. Sometimes it's really painful to reflect on yourself and the role that you had in something. And like all of that healing and maturing is incredibly painful. But at
Mm.
the end, it's worth going through that pain to make sure that yourself is whole. Like if
Mm.
I think back to like thinking about the role that I played in my marriage breaking down, it wasn't just one-sided. I played a role in that too. And as hard as it was for me to look at that, and as painful as it was, that process made me grow enormously. So,
Mm. Mm.
so
Mm.
you have to feel the pain to get through it.
Yes, and remembering that in our work, we all do, we're working with clients, like just remembering that as we hold space for other people, that yeah, it might not be pretty, it's can be pretty gruesome. Anik.
Yeah, I'm gonna be really honest and vulnerable here. And I completely drift away. The story when in one ear and in the other ear.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I got little glimpse here and there, and then I'm like, okay, well, I'm not gonna share anything unless I'm gonna listen. And I had some resistance. I'm like, I'm in my peak creative time, so there's so many things that I'm excited to create and using this
Mm.
time. So I had resistance. And what the heck am I doing here? I've decided to be really honest and transparent and vulnerable and share my experience of being in this panel for the first time about I didn't know it was like storytelling. I said yes. I'm like, okay. And feeling some frustration around, well, I'm all about self-expression. I love these panels where we, bounce back and we just share and express our wisdoms. And I'm like, oh, what is that about? And then I surrendered to be in acceptance of being here. And I've just moved to the most stunning house in the most beautiful suburb, like bushland next to the ocean. Like it's a dream coming true for
Wow.
me. Like it's unreal. Like it's just so divine. So I actually used the time to receive all that I've experienced and created and given and in the last few days, and settling here, and this, you know, it's raining here, trees and birds in the trees. It's just incredible. And just to really allow my system to receive and use that time for that. That
Mm-hmm.
what was it was needed, you know. So instead of forcing myself to do something, like it's just yeah, I just sort of drift away like a kid,
You
you know. You're
just
gonna
followed
a kid,
followed your what you needed to do.
that's it, a kid, you're gonna tell them a story before they go to bed kind of thing, and like they drift off la la land. And I'm like, this is okay, I can give myself permission to allow my system to go where I need to go, and that's
Mm,
totally
mm,
fine.
mm.
And
Yeah.
accepting that, like accepting and being vulnerable and saying, okay, you know what, I'm gonna share that I'm human and this is what happened to me and in this experience, and I'm not gonna make shit up, like, you know, about the story, because nothing really
No, no,
nothing
no.
really
Wouldn't want you
landed,
to.
like nothing really, like I didn't absorb anything like a big
Mm,
juju
mm.
piece of wisdom that I have to declare here or something, but simply sharing my own personal experience being here, really.
Sounds like you were just you were integrating and digesting. You needed the time for integration of what's been happening. Big changes and lots has been happening.
Correct, in my personal life,
Mm,
which
mm.
affects, which is, you know, my it's also my business. I mean, I am my business. So, yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's
yeah,
the
yeah.
time for digestion. Yeah, of my
Nourishing you,
Yeah,
nourishing
yeah.
you. I love that. Nourishing the woman in the wild woman.
the wild woman. That's for sure.
Yes, yes. And connecting with the nature around you, you
Yeah.
know. I
Uh,
think
it's
I
so beautiful. I mean, I wish I could show you. I'm just like mesmerized. It was really my vision, and it's like
yeah,
it's real. It's real. It's here. It's incredible. Yeah.
yeah,
The
yeah.
ocean and
Well,
the bush together.
congratulations.
Ocean and the bush
Congratulations.
together. Thank you. And the
Beautiful.
spaciousness, like 3 living rooms. It's just like, oh my
Yeah, are
God.
you in Sydney, are you?
I'm in Sydney, plus I'm in Sydney. Yeah, you know, I haven't lived in a house
Okay.
for, you know, I've been living in apartments from, I don't know, the last 20 years or something. So it's just so
Oh,
nice to be in a house.
okay.
It's like,
Wow,
oh
wow,
my
wow.
God, so good.
Well, and that also just reminds me of there's a lot of connection with nature in the story. This is where the wisdom comes from. Um, the versions that I've heard are all about, you know, they're all eating the flower and um the woman coming out of the oak tree and the gardens of the castle. This is where it all happens. But there are also parts that are inside, and I suppose that is the, you know, it's like nature and culture. It's a mix of needing both of those. Okay, so we're on the hour. And thank you so much for being with me, because I can tell a story on my own, but there's no one to receive it, and it is just such a pleasure to hear your reflections on how different aspects land with different people. So thank you. And Sophia, do you want to come in?
Yes, I will, Samantha, and thank you for again leading, facilitating, and telling such an amazing story. I loved it so very much, and will be going back to watch the replay. Thoroughly recommend anyone who's watching the live or again, the replay to do that, because you are an incredible storyteller, Samantha, and I just want to honor you. Thank you. And honor everyone who's joining us, the beautiful Sarah and Lisa and Abby from the US, where God knows what time it is at the moment, and Anik and Joe and Catherine from here, from down under in the rain. But thank you ever so much for joining us. And for everyone who's watching, do come back. Check out the links below, first of all. Check out the links below. And also check out Sacred You, because we have many wisdom circles coming up very, very soon. We have the Art of Feminine Presence in 2 days. And our beautiful Samantha will be back next month for another myth to feed and nourish the wild woman. So thank you.
Thank you.